Hello friends, I am the Dungeon Tutor. Welcome! Today is the 25th day of RPGaDay, 25th topic being, what are some desirable dice of yours? And different people value different dice for different reasons. Of course, at my age, with my eyesight being what it is, I value two things primarily. Size and contrast. Now size, just buy bigger dice. You know, these things are huge. These are from a company called Wiz Dice, and they come in this beautiful little box. Well, it's all cool, carved, everything like that. Looks great. And these dice are amazing. And they've got, you know, black on red, and they've got, you know, neat fonts around them and all the styling. Size they've got. Contrast, fail, unfortunately. I thought these would be a great collection, and it turns out they're barely usable because they're so intricately designed, and black on red does not have enough contrast for what I need these days. So while they're beautiful dice, absolutely fine, they're not dice that I use. Unless I want to show off to somebody. I don't do that too often. I have metal dice. Metal dice. People love metal dice, right? Some really cool ones with this kind of a red enamel on brass. I also have blue enamel on brass, too. I've got all kinds of... I have a couple of sets of the metal. Plus I've got this neat hollow die with the numbers. It's a 20-sided die. Cool. I even have a plain Jane brass, just state stamped brass die. Pretty cool, right? Hate them. They dent up my table. I use a wooden table, and I have a bamboo screen over the top of it to kind of help keep the table intact, and I don't trust my metal dice. Plus, contrast still isn't there. The brass is shiny and everything, and they're under good light able to be read with a little bit of difficulty. Not terrible, usable in the main, but especially when we get to the smaller facings, like the 20-sided dice, yeah, that's not going to help me too much either. So while there are plenty of people out there who love these kind of dice, and I do have them just to collect them, they're not dice that I commonly use either. More dice. Fate! Fun little game. Their dice are weird. They're 6-sided dice, but they have pluses and blank spaces and minuses on them. That's a Fate die. You see these sometimes in game stores. Great dice if you're playing Fate. They're only useful for Fate and Fudge. Unless you find some other use for them, you know. Oh, is there going to be a... You can use them for fortune telling, honestly. Is this going to turn out for good, for bad, or neutral? Remember the old augury spell? It'll wheel or woe. There you go, or both. That's what these... Well, if you want to leave that to randomness, because then you're not really using the spell at all, but this is a perfectly functional die, perfectly visible by me, because, you know, large, uncomplicated symbols. I have a couple different fonts and stuff, but these are all of my Fate dice. And I got several sets in there in case I want other people to play along who don't have the dice. Awesome. So for what they do, they're great. They only work for one game, so, you know, they don't get used too often, but I was able to use them at a con recently, and I'm pretty happy with that. But then we get to Bago randomness. These dice were special dice for the Transformers. They're Autobot Red. Not terrible, but gold and red is kind of like the black and red of those other sets. Nope. I'll tell you what I value out of this. White with black pips, or black numbers. As much of a contrast as you can hope for. Yellow and black also acceptable. Flip side, black with white pips, also perfectly acceptable. My ideal dice, something like that. And again, the bigger the better. And the the clearer the font too, because you can do bad things with fonts and make them harder to read. You can have all kinds of frou-frou on the die, and you know, it just makes the numbers smaller and more cluttered. So another type of dice. Here's a complete set of black dice with white numbering. Ideal, right? Yeah, white with black, easy to read. These are what I call DCC dice. Dungeon Crawl Classics. They use not only the standard dungeon array, but they also use dice that are non-typical, non-platonic solids across the board. You have 7-sided dice, you have 9-sided dice, 11, 13, 14, 17-sided dice, and a 30-sided die is standard with those, as well as I think 22, 24, 26. And if you're asking, that sounds like madness, you're not far off. However, they are true dice. Every side has an equal chance of coming up. How, you might ask? Well, if you ever get a chance to look at a set of these dice, and I highly recommend it, because it is pretty revelatory. You have dice. Find a good example here. Where you have, come on, yeah, numbers on the vertices. They're not just on the facets, they're on the vertices too. And you read the number that's facing up, even if that number is not exclusively on a face. They break the rules of dice, but they give you an equal chance of every single facet coming up, or every single number possibly being the top number that you would read. It's madness, but it's legit. The person who figured out how to make these actually used a supercomputer in NASA to do it, from what I understand. And it's cool. And again, these are good contrast. Even the facets are not that bad. But the problem is figuring out what die is what when they're all mixed together. What's a 13-sided die from a 14-sided die? How do you tell? You look for the facet that has a line under it, or the number that has a line under it, and that's the maximum value of that die. For example, I can see the 15 right here, and there's no line under it, so it's got to be, I believe this is a 16-sided die. So I just have to keep looking. I have to roll around to find out which is the appropriate one for what I'm doing. Oh, there's 16, and that's still doesn't have a line, so I'm going to keep looking. And me doing this without my glasses, yeah, it's kind of folly. But yes, that is what these dice are, and they're good to have if you're going to play DCC. They're all technically not required. They do have the way of playing DCC with standard array gaming dice, but all the cool kids are using those dice. So, they even have a tray, a plastic 3D printed tray that has each facet, so you can leave them in the tray where they belong so you don't have to sort through them, which I would see as absolutely essential. I kind of wish I'd bought one. So, they're dice, and somebody desires them, people who play DCC a lot. That's it. Then you get dice that are important because of their connection. For example, I got this at GaryCon. It's a nice batch of 6-sided dice. 10 of them. A lot of games that that's useful for. It's a fireball array, we used to call it, because as soon as you get fireballs, they were cranking out at 10d6 at the time. Great. It's a good memento. So much so that I don't know that I'll use them, because that is what they are, is really a memento for me. But the most valuable dice I have are ones I'll never use. And there's a good reason for this. This set of dice, this unassuming blue set of dice, this has a 4-sided die, an 8-sided die, a 10-sided, or sorry, a 12-sided die, and 2 20-sided dice, because you needed 2 20-siders back in the day. Why? Because they were your percentile rolls, and one of them would be crayoned in, and the other one would have half of the numbers crayoned in to show which set are the tens digit, what set were not. And this particular set, I will open it up, but I will absolutely not roll this die. Why is this set so cool? Why is this my most valuable set? Pretty much hands down. This one actually goes all the way up. So one of them would be colored in to show that it's the 10-sided die if you were making a percentile roll. The ones that are shaped with the 10-sided die, you would chop off the tens place and use the remaining number from 0 to from 1 to 0, 10 most of the time, as your tens place. This was a set of proofs given to TSR that they considered putting in their red box Dungeons and Dragons set. This was given to me by Frank Menzer with his voucher that these are unrolled dice that were given to them by the company that made the dice for TSR. It was from 1982, the final mold tests. Now when I got this, in 97, this was 35 years of age. It's gotten older since. Just like all of us have. And this was at a party at Frank Menzer's house that I attended. And I was given this as a reward for a game that he had cooked up, a scavenger hunt through his house. It was awesome. It really was a cool gift. And I won't ever roll it. It will be a piece of history that I keep. But what I consider to be my most desirable dice. And yeah, as far as the rest of them, they're all cool in their own way. But for me, just give me a die that I can read, use, and make new memories with. And those are my most desirable dice. So, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough, a small portion of my dice collection. But some fun ones to talk about, and I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope to see you in future videos, and if you found this entertaining, please maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I'd appreciate it. And if you hit the notification button, you will know when I put out new videos. But what I really hope is either you leave a comment and tell me about your experience with dice, what you think about my dice, if you'd prefer, or yeah, whatever involving gaming, and I would be happy to see that you've left it behind and respond to it in kind at some point. But what I really hope more than anything else is to see you in future videos, because I'm going to keep making them, and I would love to see you there. And if I do, I hope that between then and now that you, yes, you, get a chance to roll some dice, to play some games, to have some fun. But stay safe out there, my friends. Until that next time, farewell.